we ran out of chairs and we only have enough mics, and so some people are going to have to share, and we figured since you're brothers, and you probably grew up learning about sharing with each other, that should be you. But let's bring out the rest of our cast. Frightmare! All right, so we'll just start off, just to read the room. Does anyone have, I believe it's pronounced calrophobia, which is actually the medical term for a fear of clowns, because you're in the wrong fucking room. If you do, I mean, look, there's a Pennywise walking in. What other place other than Texas right now could you see Pennywise, the Killer Klowns, and Art the Clown from Terrifier hanging out? I'm sure there's a Joker, and then, yeah, there's a Joker. There we go, right on cue, sir. Wow, this is amazing. I want to start with the brothers down here. Given what we know, a kind of glimpse into your collective psyches from the vision and the aesthetics and all that is Killer Klowns, what was it like a Chiodo childhood, the household of the Chiodo family? Take us through it. What was that growing up situation like?
We were watching monster movies.
Yeah, it wasn't the classic King Kong, it was Godzilla.
Ronnie Joe Young, all the great movies of Ray Harryhausen, and What's Sinbad, Kissing in Your Eyes.
Willis O'Brien, all those names. And we didn't know how they were done, but we were drawn to them. Mom and Dad saw it, and they took us to see 20,000 Leagues, not 20,000 Leagues, Beast of 20,000 Fathoms, Giant Behemoth, all those movies, Journey to the Center of the Earth, Seven Voyages of Sinbad. They got it. They nurtured it.
And then we were down in the basement making movies on our 8mm camera. Then we went to Super 8 and started making monster movies around the neighborhood.
We did go to the circus, but I didn't have a horrible experience.
I did.
we can tell. So parents,
to a Catholic circus.
Parents, let this be a lesson. Support your kids, support their weird loves of things, because they could grow up to ruin people's childhoods.
Absolutely.
It's incredible what y'all have done. I can think of very few horror filmmakers, just filmmakers in general, that, you know, beginning to end, top to bottom, the vision started and ended with you, but then you actually did it. I mean, the aesthetics, the kind of cotton candy neon world of Killer Klowns, all the effects, everything. You were a one-stop shop. How early on did that aesthetic kind of emerge, and was it always there, and how did it develop and evolve?
I think it comes from what we grew up with. We grew up in the time of the vintage Looney Tunes, the Warner Brothers, the Three Stooges, the Little Rascals, Hal Roach, you know, and Mad Magazine, Mort Trucker, Jack Davis, all those images stayed in my mind, and basically they come out whenever we have a project. I impart the characters that I loved into what we do.
Yeah, and then also the sci-fi movies, Forbidden Planet, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Crawling Eye. So it's really an amalgamation of all of those things put together. And all we want to do is just make a movie that we wanted to see. So I'm so happy you guys like it.
And when you come up with a title called Killer Klowns from Outer Space, it sort of writes itself. You know, it's just like that's a mind, just the opportunities of all the clown circus, mime, you know, just imagery out there, and just kind of riff and have fun.
Yeah, you make a list of everything that you see in a carnival, in a clown, in a circus, you know, and then you say, how can we mess that up? How we can give it a Chiodo Brothers twist?
Or candy-coated kill, as we call it.
So you know, you're writing, you're directing, you're doing the effects. That's your background. You're developing this, and then how was it much of a fight to say, but we have to be the guys all the way. We have to do all of this stuff. This is the kind of delineation or divvying up of the work of who's going to do what, but this is the only way the movie gets made if we do it.
The Transworld experience was, they didn't even know what we were giving them. So they let us alone in terms of that. The problems we were having is you know, in terms of scheduling, and they wanted to take shortcuts and stuff, but they didn't appreciate or understand what we were doing.
Yeah, it's funny. They luckily they were having a problem movie in production that was in Sri Lanka, so all the executives were out of the country when we were shooting this movie, so we were kind of left to our own. But you know, they did trust us when it came to the effects. That's one of the reasons why they wanted to make the movie with us. So we called in every favor on all the effects artists, countless people that we know and loved and worked with, and so they really did like an incredible solid to bring the art of this movie to life. We couldn't have done without, you know, Gene Warren, Leslie Huntley from Fantasy 2, Dwight Roberts,
Joe Viscoso.
Joe Viscoso
Blew up the ice cream truck, and he blew up the
Death Star, you know. So we had this amazing talent, and again, the Tranquil people didn't kind of have a clue as to what all that was. They just let us do it, and.
But it was different than our other productions. We didn't do everything. In fact, it was our first motion picture, so we had a crew of people. There were a lot of talented people, makeup people, teamsters, somebody had to drive those trucks, and a DP, so it was a really great community. And of course, our actors. Before we had always had our neighborhood people were our actors, or our puppets that we animated frame by frame were our actors, but instead we had a wonderful cast of characters that helped us bring Killer Klowns to life.
And they bring themselves into it, and they make it better.
So, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I'm curious on both sides for the gentleman that kind of, you know, gave birth to this, and then for your experience now, 35 years later, you know, aesthetically, you know, of course, there's many horror films that have become iconic for their characters and their costumes and everything, but I can't think of another horror movie that the whole world has been kind of iconic. It's given us action figures in video games and Halloween Horror Nights, haunted houses, and you know, all kinds of crazy spin-offs. It's informed kind of a whole vibe, if you will. What is that like to kind of see that world, you know, of color like splash off the page of what you created and what y'all lived in all these years later?
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. We never expected this.
You know, like Steven said before, we spent a movie that we would like to go see, and the fact that it resonates with you 35 years later is really a testament to you guys, you know?
Especially the horror community. It's not really a horror film, it's more of a sci-fi comedy with a lot of horror elements, but I'm really glad that you guys embrace it the way you have over the years.
Yeah, it's really thrilling and humbling to realize that we've touched the nerves of so many people, you know, and we share the laughter, we share the fears. It's neat.
You know you've really made it with a horror film when you become immortalized in Halloween decorations. when you know you have Trick or Treat on one side and then Killer Klowns basically keeping Spirit Halloween in business every year, you know you've done something right. So yeah. What about y'all? Because coming in as actors, this is a weird, wonderful, wild world. You know that has to be so fun to play in. What was your first experience coming in this movie, being like, what have we got ourselves into here?
I thought the Chiodo brothers were insane. They're the craziest people I had ever met. I mean, they're totally normal, but they knew what they wanted, and we were pawns, right? I mean, they literally, it was like, we need you to do it this way, and why? You know, well, because I got this thought that it needs to be done this way, and they were right. You know, anything as an actor, sometimes a director will tell you to do something, and you know it's not going to work. Well, Steven would say things sometimes, and you think, that's not going to work. It did, right? I mean, all of it did, for all of us. I mean, hats off to these three men. They're remarkable.
The thing about Killer Klowns is we were doing not a parody, and that's what we wanted to make. It wasn't a parody. We just switched it up. We gave the alien invasion movie a spin, convincing authorities that something was killing, was invading the planet and killing people is hard enough. We just said, what if it was clowns killing people with cotton candy and popcorn? Imagine trying to convince somebody of that. So that's where it came from. The direction was, play it straight. This is really happening. It's not a joke. You know, we always took the jokes out if we could.
Absolutely. So if you want to ask a question, go ahead and line up here, and we'll get with you in a second. I have to imagine for the cast that getting to walk onto set and just see everything, this like crazy neon cotton candy world, it must have been this weird juxtaposition of like, oh my gosh, this is so fun to play in, but kind of terrifying at the same time. What was that like, just kind of living in this world as you're making a movie?
Well, we were kind of pretty into it even before the movie started. I think we got invited to go out to their studio, their workshop, while they were still kind of sculpting all of the masks and everything like that. So, at least for me, it was really exciting because I knew they were so creative, and they were making all of these super cool creatures. And then when we were on when we were shooting the movie, we were shooting all-night shoots, but they had a warehouse that all the interior spaceship stuff was in. So that was all being painted and created while we were there. So that was pretty cool too. So we couldn't wait for the last week when we actually went into the spaceship sets and started, we saw it filling up the balloons and the ballroom and all that different kind of stuff. And so it was super cool, and we were, I think, just all a little bit in awe of all of the creative madness that was happening around us.
Yeah, absolutely. Did any of you get to go through the Halloween Horror Nights house?
I did. I went with him.
Yeah, so I'm curious what the kind of parallel of that experience of like, you're making a movie, obviously the movie comes out and we watch this movie and it's fun and it's scary because we're experiencing it as a movie, but on set, your action cut, you're kind of getting taken in and out of it, but then getting to experience it going through the haunted house must have been kind of like a new level of terror. What was that experience like? Was that kind of like surreal in a way?
So I got to go through it with my son.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. And it's, you make the film as an actor, and then it does this, and you don't really realize the effect that your performance and the film that you make can have on others. You're doing your work, and you're making friends with people, and I think going through Halloween Horror Nights was the beginning of really understanding just what had been created.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Okay, because we're short on mics here, I'm gonna come down. I'm just gonna hang out down here.
By the way, if nobody's ever been to the Hollywood Horror Nights, they did a freaking amazing job. I mean, we were all blown away. I mean, the amount of work, even down to the smells and everything, was pretty.
Walking through the movie.
Yeah,
We walked through the movie. It was actually, for us, it was like being back on set, actually. It felt like we were back in Santa Cruz.
Yeah. Oh, I imagine for you guys especially, it's this whole world you created, and somebody took it and recreated it.
Pretty surreal.
Bonkers.
We walked through the movie.
Yeah. Okay. So, hi. Say your name and ask your question here. First up.
My name is Price. Thank you so much for being here this evening. It's been a pleasure to meet all of you individually. You brought so much joy to me and my life, and so many of us in this room. My question is the popcorn gun. We all know it was the most expensive practical effect in the movie.
I told you that.
I have a two-part question. Number one, being the most expensive practical effect and an actual working popcorn gun that shot popcorn, how fast did the popcorn shoot? And for all of you, was there any behind-the-scenes popcorn gun shenanigans that went on during the movie shooting?
No, you know what? It was an expensive prop only because before I learned that you could buy pre-existing, prefabricated containers, plastic containers, and modify them instead of building from scratch from a drawing. So I learned that lesson from Philip Foreman, the art director on the film. But no,
But as far as fast as it can go, a little bit faster than Mike and Debbie.
Nobody got shot by it. We just built the thing so an air mortar pushed the popcorn out.
The only person that got shot by it was the guy that built it, Kim Bailey. When he was testing it, he didn't seal the back side, so when he pressurized it, the back end blew off, and gosh, I hit him in the gut. I felt the popcorn huge belt.
He might have been the fatality from the popcorn gun at that point.
Those little pieces of popcorn were kind of scary.
So no offset shenanigans with the gun? Just use it
Did you
for
take one of
filming?
those home and kind of kept it as a pet?
They didn't know that either, so they're like, where's that gun? Hey, how's it going?
question about the makeup effects in the movie. They looked really demanding, like it really was took a lot of time to apply and to maintain. I was just curious how that went, or
It wasn't makeup. We made 4 sculpts and a Clownzilla. We made castings, one for a walk around that blinked, and the other for a puppet head that would be manually manipulated and blinked and had some facial expression.
Yeah, other than that, the only extensive makeup we had was the lipstick from the female clowns on the Terenzi Brothers.
And some really big balloons.
The makeup that we used is simple makeup for John Vernon when he was transformed into the living ventriloquist, or the dead ventriloquist dummy. The cheeks were the thumbprint of the clown dipped in Mooney's blood that was put on his face, and the lines of the ventriloquist dummy mouth were his running blood. So if you didn't know that.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, how's it going?
Hey guys, my name is James. Thank you so much for making just a 90-minute fever dream that was so entertaining. My question is for the Chiodo brothers. So we saw a giant clown, shadow puppets, living balloon animals, popcorn guns. Was there any insanity that you had ideas for but weren't able to get into the final product?
We were trying to get it in the sequels.
Yeah, actually, there were quite a few that we were not able to do.
Yeah, like the original, the first draft of the script. A lot of the clown interior is based on amusement park rides from the parks that we grew up to ride Planet specifically. And the ending of the movie, when the clowns come off the cake and attacking our main cast, they were supposed to be on a giant turntable.
Remember
those?
those?
Faster and faster, and they're holding on the center. And you got all the clowns waiting at the perimeter with all their weapons for them to be flung off and dealt with in a clowny manner.
Yeah, the budget didn't allow.
Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
Thanks. Hey, how's it going?
So, got a question for the brothers, and I know it's Killer Klowns animal, but critters related. I was curious of your general experience creating the puppets for the Critters movie. Were there any shenanigans, like maybe scaring each other with the puppets? What was it like making them?
Making them is something you do in the studio, and in the lab. You cast them, you paint them and stuff. The difficulty is the puppeteering on location, right?
Yeah, I guess it was the first time we keyed a show, meaning that we did all the critter effects. And it was a serious job for us, and there was not very much fooling around. It was pretty harsh.
Yeah, I mean, you can probably, like, the worst thing that happened is puppeteers, kind of like the bottom of the food chain. So we were shooting at night in a house they built that had was built raised, so we can get up underneath the floorboard. So we're underneath there one night, and we have little monitors so we can see what the camera sees to, get the puppeteering proper. And then all of a sudden it gets really quiet, and nobody's there. They all broke for lunch, and nobody told us they were for lunch, so they left us underneath the house.
And there were rattlesnakes out there too.
Thanks. Hey, how's it going?
Hi guys, I'm Zach.
Hi.
My question, which you mentioned earlier, any good horror film needs a sense of gravitas. Can you talk a little bit about the casting of John Vernon and what it was like to work with the man? Just because the guy is such a legendary actor and so impactful, I want to know if you had any good John Vernon stories from the set.
Well, I have a few, but I want to pass that on to our
actors. They were
John and Suzanne.
I think he was intimidating as heck.
No, me too.
He came with all that gravitas from his other roles, and the man walks in he would walk in a room, and you felt the power from him. He had a presence that was undeniable. And I think that's what made him a star, and I think that's what made him so compelling and so perfect for this role. You bought that he was that guy.
Yeah, for sure. And when I had my scene with him, and he would just say whatever he said, you were afraid of him, and he made you mad. You didn't really have to act.
No, not at all.
He was just doing it.
Yeah, 100%.
He just brought it, and he had to.
And we were all young actors,
Yeah.
and we were doing our best, right, Grant? And it was
Yeah,
like
he made it simple because he like I said, he really was. He did have that amazing aura of. And the one he brought with him, you know, we were all a little bit in awe of him as an actor because we'd seen him in
Total awe,
you know, Josie Wales and
Dean
Animal
Wormer.
House and all that kind of stuff. But he really, yeah, he had that incredibly. He was the epitome of gravitas.
But he was also really generous as a performer, really generous, and could kind of help you see the whole in the scene. That makes sense.
And keep you from falling through it.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
And for me, it was really great because I was a very new director, directing real people instead of puppets. And I saw the comedy side too. There was that scene in the police department when he got sprayed with flour, that squirt. Well, the first take was one squirt. And I was kind of happy with it. It worked the way I wanted timing-wise. But he said, hold on, let's try another take. And his instruction was, if he wants, beat, open his eyes, and then hit him again. And that was comic. That was a great comic button for that scene, exactly what he needed.
Yeah, then you squirt him again.
Yeah, and he was cool. He understood, actually. He knew it before we did, what the possibility was. On his last night of shooting, he and I were hanging out, and he says, you know, this Moody character, there's something there, you know, that, you know, I did that Dean Wormer thing, and people love that character as nasty as he is. And I said, this has got a similar quality. And then he pitched to me that, he says, I think he should come back in the spaceship as a zombie.
You know what? In the clown
That would be a zombozo, though, right, guys?
in the clown universe, it's possible.
Yeah.
So, you know, if he was still around, you know, he might have been able to help us get a sequel sooner.
Thanks.
Genesis number?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Hi, my name's Quinn. This is actually my first convention. And I met so many wonderful people today. Got so many great on that. I'll just say first, the whole, you know, shadow scene with the dinosaurs scared the crap out of me. But my question, the ventriloquism scene and the invisible car, how did those ideas come?
You know, the invisible car was the inception, the concept that started the whole thing.
Yeah, I was trying to imagine the most frightening image I could think of. It was me driving down a mountain road and having a car pass me, and who do I see? A clown. A clown being where it shouldn't is frightening.
Yeah, you know what, in the collaboration, you know, when you're having a brainstorming session, so the next question is, what could be scarier than that? What if it wasn't in a car?
What kind of car would a clown be driving? Because he doesn't have a car, he's floating.
Yeah, if he's floating, he must be from outer space.
And if they're out of space, why are they here? The killers, of course.
Can you imagine being in that room?
You know what?
It seems totally logical to me.
And you take that idea, some people might say, oh, it's too silly. We ran with it.
Thanks, man. Thanks for being with us for your first convention. Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
My name is Aiden. I have a question for the Chiodo brothers and a request for Grant. My first question is, I'm super inspired by the visual effects in y'all's movie and the costumes, the clowns, all of everything. And one of my dreams is to go to Stan Winston School of Arts to learn visual effects. And I want to know, what is a good start for someone my age so I can start prepping for that?
Well, focus on what I can see your strongest skill set is, whether it's writing, sculpting, painting, drawing. What is your strongest artistic strength, and go out into the marketplace that way?
Yeah, you want to direct,
do it, whatever you do. Like Charlie draws on everything. Every day he's drawing. So find your
I have no
passion
pencil, I'm getting
and just and do it. Keep doing it. You know, at the beginning it won't be great, but the next day it'll be better, and the day after that will be even better.
Thanks, man. Good luck. I like you like a lot. I get to host a lot of these, and a lot of people say, I want to be a writer, I want to be a director. How do I do that? It's like, well, you're right, you're direct. But I love that at Texas Frightmare, there are budding effects people, because I don't think that's as clear of a path. You know, we do have great schools like Stan School and Tom School, but yeah, to all of you budding effects maestros, you're in the right room asking the right questions of these
The
guys.
second part, the second answer to his question was from the actor.
Yeah.
What do you pursue if you want to be an actor?
Yeah.
Was that a question?
question?
Yeah, that's the second part of his question.
Oh, I'm sorry, what was that? What was that?
Yeah,
What was
you
the
want to
question?
know how you pursue, not just.
Oh, how you get into acting? Is that what the question was?
If you wanted to do that.
He's right there.
Well, depending on, if you're probably still in school, obviously, right? So probably the best thing to do if you're still in school is get involved in some of the school plays and things like that. And I mean, listen, acting, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not an easy profession. So you have to kind of fall in love with it, and because you get a lot of rejection, you get a lot more no's usually than you get yeses. So you have to love it so much that you're willing to wade through those no's to be able to get the yeses. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but for every one role that I got, I can't even count the number. I mean, now I'm a producer. For every one movie I get made, there's like 20 that I spend, thousands of hours on. It's just roadkill, at the end of the day. So you've got to love doing this.
That's it.
If you love doing this, then you like I said, I would get involved in plays and then find out if there's a local acting class anywhere you are. And eventually, you probably want to move to LA or New York if you want to really take it seriously, because to a lesser extent Chicago, but if you're in, to Second City and things like that. But you keep on taking that next step. But you start with the first one, is just getting yourself into some plays at your school and things like that.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay, appropriate. Our first clown question of the day. It better be A, funny, or B, weird.
Sorry. I'm Michelle. I know I stopped by y'all for a while yesterday with my friend over there. I have a couple of questions. So the first one's for the brothers, and the second one's for the whole panel. But the first question is, I know y'all touched a little bit on the sequel and some of the things that have come out of our series. Is there still a path for those, or kind of where, if anything, what's going on with that?
There's always a path, because we'll make it. It's been a constant conversation for 35 years. Right now with the video game on the brink of being it could be a game changer. It'll help show that there's a mainstream, wide audience for the project. Cult classic is great, but mainstream is better. We've got a lot of ideas. We have a great one we want to pursue. So like in the extended series range, like 8, 10 episodes in a Netflix or an Amazon situation. And then we have some receptive ears over at MGM. So who knows?
It's up to you guys. You guys keep on buying that merchandise. I have you want more clowns.
No, it doesn't. This is what drives it. Conventions like this, the internet, social media. That's what
Start a big internet, Twitter campaign. Get the ball rolling. Just the critical mass, I think, is building. So, we're hoping it finally reaches that point that they can't say no anymore.
That'd be awesome. I'm excited for that, David. And then the last question for the whole group would be, what was your favorite part of either being part of the project or even just watching the project?
I'll start. Well, I loved it all. But for me, there was the one night where we got to throw pies. For me, that was the pinnacle. To be able to throw like 20 pies at this one guy standing there getting smashed. Just absolutely smashed. And the guy was great. It was absolutely great. I think, did we do 2 or 3 takes, or we do it all at once?
No, it was one.
We did one take. Lots of pies. But it was such a thrill to throw pies at this guy.
Just so you know, we were all, those pies when they came flying, that was everybody in the cast and crew that wasn't actually holding a light on camera with 2 pie tins, one in each hand, and 1, 2, 3, and then stagger them. Boom, boom, right? And it was everybody, so we were all super excited. I mean, you become goofy like kids.
The lesson learned is you never ask a clown, what are you going to do with those pies?
Which, by the way, is my personal favorite line in the whole movie. I just, every time I hear that guy's, he was just a local actor, right? It was
David Peel from San Francisco area.
I just have always thought that you couldn't deliver that any better than he did. It's like hard to believe he didn't become a big character actor or something. He was like Soupy Sales or something. It was awesome.
Yeah, he was great.
I was impressed with the delivery of the lines on most of the cast. You know, when Debbie is trying to escape, she says, "No one's gonna put me in a balloon again." And then my favorite line is John's line, "We can't leave now, there might be people still alive in these balloons." But see, he nailed it because he took it serious. The lines weren't delivered as jokes, they were delivered as the world is being taken, there are people in distress. So that's what I loved about the performance.
But by the way, just kind of on the shoulders of what John said a little bit ago, we really were, we had a lot of trust. They had, Stephen and the brothers had a very clear vision of what they wanted, and you know, especially with my character at least, they were always kind of pushing me to be that much, you know, more hyper, more, you know, excited. And you know, at the time I was kind of in acting school, and you're being taught to, you know, be very down to earth and real and barely do anything. And so, I trusted Stephen, and I just kind of like went for it. And then when you see it, it's like they were absolutely right with all of us. You know, they knew exactly what they were painting in their canvas, and it just worked perfectly.
Well, my particular favorite part was when they were talking about the floating clown, because that's one of the bits I was able to do, smashing the car off of the road. And it was a great contraption that was made by the effects guy.
It was a rig that was attached to the vehicle.
Yeah, and I got a day to rehearse on it to learn how to control the rig, and then it took us a couple of days to film it. But that was a lot of fun doing that one.
For me, the whole thing was just so surreal. I never knew what to expect, and the epitome of that would be the day that we shot the sucking the blood out of the cocoon scene. And while we were doing it, and while I was sucking on the blood, and I watch it, I'm watching through my mask as the blood comes up to the straw. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? This is so surreal. And the other scene that got me was the popcorn gun scene coming out of the elevator. And I had to have the mask was actually split down the middle of the back. It was really thick latex, maybe an inch and a quarter, something like that. And it was glued shut with, in my case, I don't know why, it was airplane glue, but it made it high as a kite. Inside those masks, there's motors that control the eyes and the mouth, and there's an operator who's controlling the facial expression while I'm doing the scene. And I just remember the first take, I come out of the elevator with the popcorn gun, I kind of whip it out, and I'm supposed to fire the gun. And then Steven says, Howard, have you ever seen Rambo? Yeah, and he goes, put Rambo in this, come out of that with tension, come on out. So I come out, I was playing college basketball just before, so I come out of that elevator pumped. I put that gun around and shoot, and then I didn't realize there was a step off, there was like a two foot step off, it was like a set. And I almost fell into it with my big 24-inch clown shoes. That was what the reality was like for me. It was surreal. It was like being in a candy shop on wheels. The scene we did, well, we all did the scene with the carnival house, and everything was moving, everything was colorful. And there was like 15 clowns, and we're all trying to be orchestrated. I mean, it was as fun doing it as it is for you guys to watch it. And I would just say, hey, come on, let's get these guys what they need. Come on. Somebody out there in this world, get these guys what they need, and let's make some of them. And they do.
In the bathroom scene, before the popcorn clowns, the Jack-in-the-Box clowns popped out of the hamper and out of the thing, she goes, these things, how am I going to stop from laughing because it's so funny? She said, you know what, you got to take it serious. You got to do it. You just got to do it. And she did it, but you know, it is a silly thing. I guess the first take, you have to get the laughs out.
You did, but the teeth in the clown, they really hurt. So that was easy.
Motivation.
Motivation. So my favorite scene is the shadow puppet scene. it was just a really fun show to work on. And my agent told me that these guys were just the most talented people in Hollywood, and that I had to do this movie because it would be a cult classic.
Wow.
She told me that.
She knew.
She knew, yeah. But above all of that, having done the movie and having this family of friends that I love so much, that's been amazing. And then also getting to meet all of you wonderful people. It's really made me very special.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with that. As much fun as the movie was to make, and it was so much fun, you know, getting a chance to see, to meet all the fans and see how much everybody's enjoyed this movie. And I have the little card that I pull out from time to time, which I think Suzanne has one pretty similar to it, but it's basically somebody who said, the card says, "Thank you so much, you know, this movie gave my grandfather so much joy, and he turned my father onto it, and my father turned me onto it. So now we're third generation Killer Klowns family." I just think that is the coolest thing.
I'd like to just say one thing. As you know, as you can see that my partner in crime is not here tonight. Peter Lacassi, who played Paul Terenzi. There's a scene, and you guys will all know it. It was when Clownzilla was attacking the ice cream truck after it crashed through the wall. There was a line that Peter said that he was so proud of. And I'd like to kind of bring Peter into the room a little bit by saying that line. Dave wanted us to get out of that van, and Pete had an ad-lib that the Chiodos didn't even know about. He just threw it out there.
Clownzilla was stepping down to kill them all.
Yeah, and Pete just poked his head out of the van and said, "We can't, it's rented!" And they loved it so much they put it in the film.
It was brilliant. Again, working with these actors like that.
It was perfect.
It wasn't written. It was just the perfect comedic button in that very dramatic scene to throw that line in there.
Nice. Thank you.
By the way, even though I say that you know, we were so molded, they were incredibly. I remember us even before we shot the movie, sitting by the pool up in Aptos, which is near Santa Cruz, the little hotel, and we were all walking. Can you think, Stephen? Can I say this line? Can I change this a little bit? And he was open to all of that. So as much as he had a vision, he was also very into incorporating ours and even letting us. I remember one time when I was in the truck with the Terenzi brothers, with Mike and Peter, and we just started bantering that whole little thing about which way we go, left, you know, right, no, left, right, and that was just all like an improv that we just cooked up, and you know, you guys let us roll with it, right? And that worked great too. So.
Oh yeah, and I love when Suzanne just kind of flipped Officer Mooney when she left the police station that day. That was her.
It was very disrespectful.
Thank you so much. All right, you're up, young man. What's your name? Wait, say that again.
That's Curtis, little guy. Or fella. I don't really know his name, unfortunately.
He's nice.
Everyone let this kid cut in front of them and have the next question. So ask your question.
What are the nose made out of?
The noses?
The noses on the clowns. What are the noses on the clowns made out of?
What we made the mask and the noses out of, and the ears and everything, the hands, was foam latex rubber.
And how did you get them to pop?
Like a pillow. It's the kind of foam rubber you have in a pillow.
Or like balloon rubber so you can pop them.
Nice.
My nose is made out of flesh.
I think they were stuffed with clown confetti, though, if I'm not mistaken, right? Special alien clown confetti.
embarrassed. No, he had to. He has to.
That's a great question.
Yes, much love. Much love to Willie up there.
We got a Willis Wonderland fan.
That's right, exactly.
Nice. All right, so we gotta get this clown show on the road because we got more clowns to get in here. The next panel. So we're gonna cut it off here. Last 4 questions.
By the way, the Chiodos, I asked them to do that with me. Unfortunately, they turned me down. They were too busy with their Netflix show, but they were my first choice.
Hey, how you doing? My name's Drew. I got a question for you three. Y'all said y'all started 35mm in the basement, in your neighborhood and your friends. Well, was there any conflict of interest whenever you were doing your early films between the three of y'all, or was it always copacetic incidents that led y'all to making this big film that we all love and adore?
Any collaboration, you know, you have a give and take kind of thing. At some point, you just have to keep the thing moving forward. We were doing Super 8 and regular 8 back then. We were doing film in Santa Cruz there, and we didn't have video assist. We had to rely on the DP to tell us if we got it or not. When we got the dailies back, after they said we got it, sometimes we didn't get it. You know, so it was disappointing. So it was very difficult. Now with video assist and now digital photography, they don't shoot films anymore.
Yeah, but actually the collaboration was the same back then as it was in Killer Klowns. We'd sit down and we'd do storyboards. Charlie would draw, we'd brainstorm, get scenes. We'd actually shoot with storyboards and build miniatures. And when we did, of course, perspective shots, putting a puppet, let's say, closer to the camera against people in the distance to make the puppet look bigger. And on Killer Klowns, we did the same thing.
Yeah,
we brainstormed, did storyboards, and we did the same effects.
You guys, it was a culmination of a lifelong dream, really. It's what we did as kids.
Tell what forced perspective is.
Oh, forced perspective, you bring, let's say, a creature in front of the camera, you bring it closer to the camera, do it like this. You can do it with one eye. Your hand is big, I can pick your head like this. You know, that's what it is. The thing in the foreground is bigger than everything in the background. That's forced perspective.
Yeah, but like you're saying, so again, a culmination of a lifelong dream for us. It was, again, we got to do what we were doing as kids on a real movie. And really the best part of it was our mom and dad, who made it all possible for us. They got to come up during shooting during the last week, and they got to see their boys do what they enabled us to do.
And we even had a logo back then. We had Chiodo brothers in the logo, like MGM Lion. We could go back in the 1960s.
All right, here's our last 3 questions. Hello, sir.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chuck. I'm from South Texas. So this is for the Chiodo brothers. This is kind of a rather lame question, but which one of you sickles came up with the concept of the cotton candy cocoons?
You know, the cotton candy cocoons, again, it was the obvious thing that you would see in a carnival or a circus, and we tried to figure out, you know, what can we do? And then we loved Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and there was another one, The Beast in the Haunted Cave, where the monster wrapped them in a cocoon and sucked the blood. So we put all that together and had a silly straw, curly straw, sucking the blood out of a cotton candy cocoon. It's all a compilation.
Yeah, it was all brainstorming. We would sit there and say, okay, what are some other circus or carnival motifs that we can kind of pull from? And we just started talking.
Yeah, the 2 biggest things you get in a circus or a carnival is popcorn and cotton candy. So those were the first things that just.
You're the guys who saw Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and you said, I like this movie, but you know what it needs more of? Cotton candy. Thanks, man. All right, speaking of cotton candy, your hair is appropriately colored. Segue, and for our second to last question.
Hi, thanks. Anyways, I was just wondering what y'all's thoughts were on the video game and if you plan to play it at all.
You know what? I plan to play it, but I'm embarrassed to say I have to brush up a little bit.
Yeah, we're not really gamers. We did play the game, a demo of it, and it's really great. The game company, Good Shepherd Entertainment, they wanted to remake the aesthetics of the original 1988 movie. So it has that same sensibility of Crescent Cove and Clowns. We were executive producers and visual consultants, and the clowns look great.
Yeah,
clowns look so cool.
The environments are great. It's foggy nights.
Yeah, there's going to be it's supposed to be an announcement in July that's going to update us all. But like part of the plan is when the game gets released, we're going to be online playing.
You're gonna need to be a stunt double for me. We can make it. I'll pretend I'm playing behind me.
And I'd like to team up with the cast once again and see if we can all play online and kill those clowns.
There you go. There you go. I think what's been so amazing is you know, all of the Killer Klowns ephemera over the years since, it's always had your kind of DNA and your touch on it, and it seems like you guys have really stayed involved. Going all the way back to even looking into marketing and everything, you can always feel your presence amongst all of it, and that's why it stayed consistent.
Except one thing, from outer space, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Should have been a K. Come on.
Yeah. It's also a slow day in the marketing department if they're like, what should the tagline be? How about, it's crazy?
You know,
It's great.
I'd like to also give credit to John Massari, who scored the thing so beautifully. And you haven't heard a 76-piece orchestra score. It makes the movie incredibly great. So,
By the way, it's the coolest artwork on that. And you guys have seen that the vinyl LP, right? It's just amazing. I mean, it's so cool. It's about the coolest artwork I've ever seen on an LP like that. He's got one saved from that. So he was going to be here.
All right, sir. Last question of the Killer Klowns panel. What is your name and what is your question?
Hi guys, my name is Billy. First of all, I just want to thank all of y'all for making this amazing movie that has created so many countless fond memories for me to look back on. So thank you all for creating that.
Thank you.
And so I got two things. First thing is, on the off chance that there's in a perfect world where we do in fact get a sequel, is there any chance maybe some humans could accidentally crash land on their planet and we get to see their world?
that would be the fourth
Very
century.
interesting. And the last thing I got is for Charlie specifically. I just wanted to thank you one last time for the hand you had in creating my Slappy Dummy. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. I love doing it.
Thank you all again.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
There's a perfect note to end on. Keep it going for the cast and filmmakers of Killer Klowns.
Anybody haven't come by our tables yet? Please do. We have a lot of cool stuff. We love to talk to you about it.
One last thing, and this might be tricky, but we do this at the end of every